Hi YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. I'm the Sparkle Queen, and if it's the first time you're joining me, please like, subscribe and share. But please everyone, just like that thumbs up button, smash the thumbs up button. Okay, so let's jump into it, because today's topic is about sociopath disorder. And you may ask yourself, what is a sociopath? And it's something that we all heard of, and in fact, when we think of a sociopath, we think of films where there might be someone that's like a creepy person lurking in the back, you know, just someone that's weird, that doesn't fit into society. But in fact, a sociopath can be within anybody within your own community, amongst your own friends, someone you went to school with, someone you would never really think sticks out like a sore thumb. Sociopath to define it is somebody that, and that's the term used for antisocial personality disorder. And what it just generally means is that the person that has the antisocial personality disorder will find it hard to understand the feelings of others. I'm going to give you an example. So when we look at, let's take the traits. The traits is somebody that finds it easy to undercut anybody else that they perceive to be weaker than themselves. You know, and this could be people that's like, you know, in any job, but mainly high-powered jobs. If they're not somebody that's doing nothing with their time, then you may find that they're people that are in very high-powered jobs. But they get there by undercutting other people, and they really couldn't care less, you know, who they need to step on to get to where they need to go to, unfortunately. And it's driven by their power over, they perceive power over you as an individual. So like I said, somebody they find weak. They make impulsive decisions, and those impulsive decisions can affect the masses. They do not care. And you know, and they have no guilt and no empathy or for someone else's life. Whether they cause damage and destruction, it really doesn't matter. So to them, it's just a game, and they see the way they interact and communicate with people is no different than playing chess, no different than playing Scrabble or any other game you can possibly think of. But as long as it's a game that's probably more mental than anything else, and they can use strategic strategies, that is their goal. It's just they use human beings to play these kinds of games with. And it's a case of the fact they look at it when they've done something that's obviously caused you pain, is that you lost, because it's still a game to them. So, you know, as another example, let's look at you know, a guy that may, two opposites. You know, you've got a male, you've got a female. They might find each other attractive, and let's just say that the guy is a sociopath. But the woman, she's just met this guy, she doesn't know that he has that. He's not going to come out and tell her that he may have these traits, or, you know, even if he's diagnosed, he may not come out and be honest. But to him, it's not about telling her, because he knows that it potentially may end the end goal that he may be trying to go after. So when they interact with people with the sociopath disorder, when they interact with the opposite sex, it's got to have some self-serving factor to it. So they may want sex, they may want money, they may want, you know, you to do something in return for them. But they're not going to come out and just say, oh, you know, could you do this, that and the other. You would have somebody that would make up a whole complete different name. Just to give you an understanding, they will make up a complete different name about themselves, where they live, their childhood. They will tell you a whole story that is really not their story. They will, let me think of what else they will do. They are very charming, they possess very charming personalities, very charismatic personalities, and what you will find that they will overstep boundaries. So in that initial meeting with this man from this woman, she is organically trying to get to know him as a individual of the masses, normal masses will do when you meet somebody. But from the minute the sociopath meets this woman, he's instantly downloading everything she says like optic fibre, so he can plot. And unfortunately, it's a very sad thing for anybody that's ever come across anybody with these kinds of tendencies and this disorder. It's very sad because obviously you may be a very nice-natured person. Unfortunately, you are just prey to someone that is like that. And you can never understand them, because what drives them is basically the fact that they are normally feeling empty. And it's a way of being alive, and these games is a part of the disorder. So they will tell you sob stories, they could tell you, or overly compliment you. Like I said, they can be charismatic or charming, but ideally they know that their story is never going to maintain consistency. So, some of the signs that you may find with these kinds of people is that they may be quick talkers or drop things on you to make you make fast decisions, because they want to try and get their win before you start to suspect something is not quite right. Sorry, excuse me. So when they come at you, there are some telltale signs about them, and that is that their stories start to become a bit inconsistent. The second thing I would say to you as well that they do possess is that when they are taking in all your information, and I mean you wouldn't notice it, but they get you to open up and tell them your life, because what they're ideally trying to do is trying to find out who you are and what kind of person do you really want to see. What type of person do you want back in your life? What kind of person are you looking for, particularly if you're single? So they're looking for an entrance. And what they will do when they take all that information, they will then project back to you this person that you've created, that they believe that they've created off what you have said, and they believe this is the person that you want. But unfortunately, if that's not really their character, they can only keep that momentum up for so long. So that is another red flag about these kinds of just people with those disorders. And you'll find they will flee normally. If they cannot lie to you anymore and the jig's up, you'll find that they will normally take off anyway. If you're anybody that is actually dealt with somebody that is really just self-serving, deceitful, they tell a lot of lies, and you come to find out that everything about them, there is no truth in everything they said, right back from their childhood, what the job they do, and they've created a complete new character, and you feel that you basically have just been conned. I would say to you that do not blame yourself. And the best thing you can do is really just, once you realise this, please just end it and start and walk away. Walk away, start your life again and walk away. And don't try to make understanding. And the reason why I say that, because from a spiritual perspective, when people are like this, they are used by the enemy to create destructions for other, God's children. And they are a vessel, because they already have the tendencies that they need to carry out the plan for the enemy in the first place. And those type of people that don't have the emotion, don't have the empathy, they may feel like they're in control and they're in control of themselves, but they're actually also being used as a pawn in this spiritual warfare also as well. But obviously they don't see it, because from a scientific perspective, if they know, because some people go along in life and they are never diagnosed, but there are some very key traits within people that possess this kind of characteristics. But do not feel that it's something you've done. It's not something you've done. It is something that who they are, and unfortunately, it's someone that they will never change. They will never change. Don't even try. Don't even try and work it out. Don't try to figure it out. Just move on. That's the best thing you can do, because you will never understand someone with sociopath traits. They don't even really understand themselves half of the time, I believe, anyway, and that's just my opinion. But on really and truly, I would say that, then when they look at life and the replacement for the lack of empathy, the lack of understanding others' feelings that they don't have, they look at it as logic. So they replace those feelings with logic. So I'll give you another example. They could have their own grandmother die, and the family are crying, and everyone feels a sense of loss. However, from the sociopath's perspective, they don't understand why everybody is crying. They don't get the emotion. It doesn't matter how long they know. The grandmother could have virtually raised them, but they understand. But so the logic that comes in there, the logic that kind of gets introduced to the situation that replaces the lack of understanding for that, the loss or the empathy, is to program themselves to say the things that they probably might have seen on TV. So they will know at that point to say, oh, I'm sorry for your loss, and if there's anything I can do, don't hesitate to reach out, or, I'll do this and do. So they can reprogram themselves to jump into a certain role, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they feel the connection with the loss personally themselves. They just know what to do and what to say at the right time. And those kind of people, they're very hard to, they're very, in a respect, you can't trust them, they're very scary. And I know that when we think of sociopaths, like I said, we revert back to maybe TV, where we look at somebody that is creepy, or someone that you believe is going to do something, and you have this perception of someone that, can cause harm. And with the sociopath, not all of them necessarily cause harm. However, because they lack that connection with the, what they can do to others to cause harm, and this is all of them, they can cause destruction and harm to the point of, something more serious. And this is every single one of them. They have that in them. So if they're not a part of your family member and it's somebody that you just met, I wouldn't try to sympathize whatsoever. I would generally suggest that, you do walk away, because you will never have a normal life, a life that's authentic, a life with equal love, because they just don't feel it. And also as well, there is the possibility of them putting you at risk and at harm in the sense of something self-serving for themselves. So, I think that we've covered this. I do not like to go too much into everything in this kind of topic, or in most of my segments. So I'm going to leave it right here. I hope this was informative. I hope I covered, because when I talk to you, I don't talk to you from a scientific, I do not talk to you from a sketch perspective, like a rehearsal. I talk to you from a very authentic standpoint, giving you the same informative information, but from a more natural character to myself and who I am. So when I speak, I just speak as if you saw me on the street, this is who you will get. So the words that come out is just the same. But either way, I hope it's informative, and peace.